Hi, today I just wanted to talk about where I've gotten to so far and how I'm planning to go from $0 online and beyond. So it all started basically about 4 months ago, I think the beginning of February. I just started to write down more and more things about how I wanted to get to a different spot in my life and start doing something different and start working for myself as opposed to constantly trying new jobs and trying to go somewhere and then hating the job, especially where I'm at right now. I'm just sitting all day and I hate it and I'm wasting my time working for other people. I started with thinking about how can I solve one of my own problems or just start looking towards new things and new ways to work. And it happened about 3:30 in the morning or something like that. I woke up and I had the idea of just trying to fix my own underwear problems. And then from there it was just how to actually solve this and how can I actually make this real for myself. So that said, after the initial idea, I sent out a bunch of emails to a bunch of different manufacturers around the world. And it happened so that the guy that got back to me with the most helpful answer and the most helpful response was actually in Vancouver. So he's pretty local to where I am. He's about 4 hours away. So that worked out really good. And he had a couple of good ideas that I could kind of build in my head and start with thinking. So we started there, but he was taking too long and I couldn't wait for him to come up with ideas. So I realized I had to make the start myself and kind of start the idea myself. So after that, initially I tried some rub-on latex. So you take the fabric latex and I was rubbing it onto the bottom of the underwear to see if that would stick on my legs. And it didn't really work, but it was enough for me to kind of get the idea that, okay, well, if I had something sticky or something that would grab my legs, it would at least keep the underwear down, which was the problem I was trying to solve. For years, I've always struggled with underwear riding up and just going to work, and it'd be a hot summer day and I'd be working, bending over, moving, and my underwear would be bunching up, riding up, and I hated it. It bothered me so much. Sometimes I'd get such bad rash, and it was just, for some reason in my life, I've always had that problem. And this year, like I said, in February, it was when I was switching from wearing long johns to boxer briefs again. I went from wearing the long johns and not dealing with the wedgies all winter long. It was just comfortable to, all right, here's the problem again. But this time I decided, let's work on it and let's try and solve it for myself because I hated it. And I'm sure there's a lot of other guys, as it's been very evident that since I started posting all this stuff, that deal with the same problem. So back to the story, and I guess where I'm at now or where I was at was, so after I reached out and tried the latex on the bottom of the underwear, it was what inspired me to go further with the idea. And from there I started to think about some ways that I could incorporate a bit of a grip onto my legs so that it would keep the underwear down, whether I was running, moving, bending, even simple actions just throughout the day. And I found a product that would work, so I was able to source a product that I hand sewed with a thread and needle onto the base of my normal pair of underwear, which was wearing beneath at the time. You might have heard of them. They're pretty popular here in Canada. But so I took the thread and needle and I threaded it onto the base of my underwear just to see how it would work. And it was enough to give me another better idea that, oh, this is something. Like, this is actually going to stay on my legs if I could make it sit on the underwear properly. So from there, after threading it on and trying it out for a day after it fell apart, didn't last very long, but that's okay. I've only sewed one pair of pants in my life, so it was a good try. I weaved it around. I'll have a picture of it and I'll throw it in after this video. But so I weaved that around, weaved the material I had found onto the underwear, and had the idea that I could keep going with it. So after that, I asked my girlfriend if her mom could help us sew it on, and she asked her mom, and we went over there, and her mom Carmen was very kind of skeptical about the whole idea, and she didn't really understand what we were trying to do, and it was really funny. But Ashley at least was very helpful with it, and she was alongside the whole thing. But her mom was a little bit like, what's going on here? Like, why are you fixing your underwear? That's kind of a weird thing. But anyway, so we used her sewing machine to sew on the first pairs with the technology that we've kind of developed and sourced and starting to build. So we sewed that onto the underwear, and I tried it on, and instantly I was like, okay, this is going to work great for me. And it worked really well. My underwear stayed on, and it was just perfect. Like, really, it was for a good couple tries, like for us to hand sew, or not hand sew, but machine sew it with her help of Ashley's mom. It worked really well. So I sewed up about 8 pairs. I tried it once and then Ashley made a bunch. So we got about 8 pairs for myself that I've been wearing ever since then. And so that was beginning of mid to late February when we did that. And that's when I started to post online and start kind of just trying to create this brand and this page and a bit of awareness for the product I'm building. So that's late February after I'd built my first prototypes, and from there I started to look at what else I could do to gain initial feedback and what I could do to improve it. So we bought a bunch of pairs for everybody else that were based on kind of the construction, the similar construction to what we're going with. And I bought a sewing machine as well. So I bought my own 1960s Kenmore sewing machine from an old lady. And this old lady used the sewing machine to make trophy wife aprons. So she was using the machine to make aprons for trophy wife. Trophy wives, I don't know what she had going on, but they were pretty fancy aprons. And Ashley picked up the sewing machine, said she was a lovely lady, and she was kind of excited with the idea. So we took the sewing machine home, and over the course of a few weeks, we both figured out how to use a sewing machine from the 1960s, and it was a lot of fun. And it's actually kind of a fun thing to do, is sit there and sew for a few hours. It hurts your back, but it was a fun thing to learn. I learned how to weave everything and set the whole sewing machine up so that I could sew just the piece onto the underwear. So I would take the underwears that I bought or the pairs that I bought, and I was sewing the material onto the base of it. So I learned how to do that. I learned how to do with all the bunching up of the machine, bunching up of the thread running out. Just constant problem is trying to set up a sewing machine, especially when YouTube videos don't really show the 1960s style, or it was just trying to put pieces together from every which way. But it was a good task to learn. It was kind of fun learning how to use the sewing machine, and Ashley helped me out a lot. So after we sewed up, I bought a bunch of pairs, bought the sewing machine, used the sewing machine to sew up a bunch of test pairs that I gave out to some friends and some family. And Ashley was really helpful in the beginning because she gave it out to a couple of her friends that were really excited about the idea, and that definitely helped me go from, this is something that might work for myself, to, well, let's try it. And ended up getting really good feedback right out of the gate and a couple of tweaks that I had to do. So everybody tried out the underwear for a while, and it was awesome. Everybody had the same kind of experience that I had. It's kind of eliminating the whole ride-up problem, the bunch-up problem that underwear out there claims to solve, but so far in my experience, every brand I've tried never really lasts. It might go through the wash once, and then it's riding up my legs, or I'm going to work and it's hot and sweaty out, and it's riding up my legs and it's in my ass and I hate it, and for some reason it's just always bothering me. So anyways, so I got all my friends to try it out, give me some feedback, and some family friends and everything. Everybody tried it out, liked it, made a couple of design tweaks for myself. So in the meantime, this took quite a while. So after that, I started to build the social media page a little bit more, start putting a website together at the basic level. I haven't really done a lot of website building at all, but Shopify is pretty easy to learn, so I've been learning that. And then I started to start making my own images and start using the TikTok and the Instagram and the Facebook, which I've never used before. I've never been a social media guy. I hated it not hated it, but I just never understood the use of it. So that was kind of a big hurdle to get over, was start taking my idea that I've come up with and be okay with sharing it, and doing a video like this or a podcast like this is another thing. But so we took all that material and the feedback and the tests, started building the website, and throughout this whole process I was hearing from the manufacturer in Vancouver, who had some input, but he was pretty quiet while we were testing things out. It seemed like he waited for me to kind of come up with the idea and come up with what I needed done before he jumped on the train. So I drew out a bunch of papers at work. I drew out a bunch of diagrams with kind of my idea and what it might look like based on some feedback I had gotten from some friends. So I drew out the idea, sent some pictures to him, and with that, he kind of just got back to me and said, okay, well, we'll get on it. But that took a long time. He's a busy dude. He's got a lot of other things going on. But so I had to be patient there and kind of wait it out while I brought some more feedback in, started working on doing this and looking at all the pieces of knowledge that I might have to take in and start to learn in order to build a business, build a brand, build a company, because I've never done it before. I've seen it. I've always been listening to many different aspects on trying to build a better self, but building a business has definitely been a little bit more of a learning case for me, which I can apply a lot of things I've learned about improving myself to actually building a business, and being able to translate a lot of that wisdom, I think, is working out in my favor. But it's been the hardest part for me has been getting over these time hurdles and the social media hurdles, and waiting for this and that and waiting for this and that from other people. But it's all been good. It's really helped my patience, and so far it was a long waiting game, and it's definitely helping me out now as I'm waiting for more and more stuff to come through. Because basically, since I sent him those design sketches and those ideas that I wanted made, it was a couple weeks, if not a month, before he was able to actually say, okay, we're gonna do it and we're gonna cut it. And we ended up lining it up with a trip that Ashley and I had planned to go to the Vancouver Island, if you know where that is in Canada. But so we drove down there and we met him. If you've seen the video, it was really cool. We got to walk in there, and he took us around his factory in Vancouver and what he builds there, and some of the people that were there, and it was really awesome. They're all good friends, and they treat each other with respect and kindness, and it seemed like a really good place to work. And Ben, the guy who's helping me out in designing it down there and doing the actual construction, was a super good guy. He had a lot of good feedback on what we might be able to do with the product, and where we should start, and where we should start looking for branding and materials and everything like that. So that was at the beginning of our trip, and I guess this is in May, start of May. So we went from February with the idea and the initial starts and the reaching out, to March was building and creating my own pairs, to April was learning how to sew and handing out pairs and getting feedback. And then now we're in May, where we drove down there and we met Ben, the manufacturer. So we went for a week-long trip, and then on our way back he had the first prototype for us, so we were able to look at the first prototype. I was able to hold it, and that's when the whole thing kind of became real, because up until that point in time I was just working off my idea and Ashley helping me out sew, and I was sewing these things and handing them out. But it was really cool for me to kind of experience that. All right, I had this idea, and it took not a long time, but it took a couple months. But now the idea in its basic form was real, and I put it on, and it was pretty exciting. I've never had that kind of an experience before. And that was a huge piece of, all right, let's keep moving with this, because I've gotten this far. I've got a prototype that is in my hands, and I'm wearing it, and it's been awesome. The first prototype turned out really well. There's a few changes we gotta make, which is what we're in right now. We're in that time space in between first prototype and second prototype, and we're sourcing materials. But anyways, putting that on was when this kind of became real for me, and like, I'm gonna keep moving with this. And that's what up until that point, it was hard for me to kind of grasp the idea of really trying to build a business and really trying to put everything I can on, not on the line, but everything that, like, it might fail, but who cares? At least I'm trying to do something. And the way I try to look at it now is, if the aliens come tomorrow, at least I tried to do something. And inspired by my dad and some of his things that he's shown me and everything like that. But so that's why I'm looking at it. So after that prototype, I gotta keep moving with this. And then up until now, it's been pretty slow, but we've got manufacturing source for our bands and the actual technology, so that can get made, and we're getting the colors sorted and the patterns, not really the pattern, but the stitching and the logos and everything kind of sorted out. And then we're gonna get those initial pieces sent over to Vancouver, where he can build our second prototype with some of our initial changes, hopefully that allow a little bit more movement in the waistband and the legs. So it kind of solves, my second idea is to help solve the people that have their waistband roll over all the time, or if they're bending over, their waistband might be falling down. So that's kind of a next piece of the puzzle to solve, is not only the legs riding up, but also the waistband folding, and just trying to create like the optimal pair of men's underwear that's not marketed with gimmicks, like trying to have fun patterns or anything like that, which we might get to. But right now I'm really trying to design a pair of underwear that really works, and it really works for specifically men who work and do things, and they're on the move, and they're kind of demanding more performance, but they're not wanting to wear a compression short or an athletic short or a cycling short or whatever. It's like it's a genuine pair of men's boxer briefs that we're building, that I'm trying to create, that is for men who need it, like that want to work and that want to move and kind of demand that. So it's been really awesome for me the last few months, and I've been able to translate a lot of different experiences into this experience, which is now I've thought about failed business ideas before. I wanted to be a personal trainer for a while, and then that just kind of went on the wayside because I gave up on it and I didn't want to really pursue it because it just seemed like a really hard thing to get into. But now, over the last few months, I've really developed the side of, well, I'm at least going to try until somebody says no or I fail, and who cares, you keep moving on. And that's kind of where I want to keep going with this, and that's why I wanted to try and make this video and bring it up to speed with where I've gotten so far on my journey. I'm going to call this journey is from zero and beyond, because who knows how much money I'm going to make and what kind of impact I'm going to create. And right now, I'm not really creating much impact, and I'm not creating any money for myself. But hopefully in the future with this product or other products or other business ideas I might have, I'm able to go from zero and beyond and just kind of keep growing and learning. And if you're following along with this journey, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate everybody reaching out and the comments so far, and everybody being stoked to try a pair, especially all my friends. I'm very thankful for that. And I just look forward to keep building this and kind of continuing on this journey and not stopping. So we're going from zero and beyond, and hopefully that beyond is great impact and great rewards. So thanks for checking this out.